devil. Lots and lots to get into on the show this morning. But before we do that, please do me a small favour. If this is your first time watching today, make sure to subscribe to the channel bottom right hand corner and also give the video a like. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. Right, let's start the show off by talking about the game yesterday against Liverpool. Now, I was really impressed, really impressed. I thought it was one of our better performances this season. And interestingly enough, I really liked what Ruben Amorim had to say after the game, where he effectively called the players out. He said, why are they able to do this against Liverpool? But then, you lose 3-0 at home to Bournemouth. You lose 2-0 to Wolves. You lose, all of these other games to the so-called lesser teams. And then you go and play the best team in the league, who were at full strength, and you probably should have won. Like, you had the better opportunities. You had opportunities to kill that game. Harry Maguire had that chance where he should have scored realistically. There was a couple of other moments where we had good chances. And that's the bit that really confuses me. Although Man United have been like this for a very long time, haven't they? They'll go and put in a world-class performance against a good side, and then the next week they'll lose against a team in the bottom half of the table. And it's really strange. I guess it is all just down to consistency. Whether it's under Ruben Amorim, whether it's under Erik ten Hag, this team has really struggled for consistency, and you never know what you're going to get with this team. Whether it's losing against someone, drawing against, you just don't know. It's impossible to predict. And when we do our score predictions on this channel now, like, I honestly find it so difficult these days to predict, whether Man United are going to win a game of football anymore. And, even if you look at who's available, you look at the previous matches, it's kind of irrelevant. Because, we might draw against Liverpool yesterday, and then we might go and beat Arsenal on the weekend, or we might lose to Arsenal. Like, you just don't know. But overall, I think the game was decent. I was happy with the performances. I thought there was some real standout players. I thought Manuel Ugarte did a great job yesterday. The one thing I will say that's still screaming out to me is that we need to strengthen our attacking line. I don't know. I don't want to be harsh, but I think we definitely do need another striker, personally. I like Rasmus Højlund, but I don't think at the moment he's offering us enough. Like, when you look at his, goal tally this season, you can see why we're struggling for goals up front. Obviously, Ahmad's contributing quite a lot, isn't he, with his goals and assists, to be fair. But, like, you look at Højlund, so far this season, in the Premier League, he's got 2 goals and no assists in 15 games. I mean, that's not great, is it? It really isn't. For someone who cost us £70 million. I mean, it's not his fault that he cost £70 million, to be fair, but still, you would probably hope for a slightly better return than 2 goals in 15 matches. But again, that's not his fault. Like, we shouldn't have paid £70 million for him. We should have paid 30, 40 million tops. And we should be in a position where we can afford to buy another striker, even if it's like an older striker on loan, or we should be in a position where we can bring in somebody, because at the moment we're 100% relying on him. He's 21 years of age. He's not firing at the moment. And yeah, all of our kind of focus is on him to get the goals. But let's move on from last night's or yesterday's game even, and let's jump on over to some transfer related stories. And I wanted to do a bit of a roundup on, where we're at in this window, and in relation to what players it looks like Ruben Amorim is set to sell this window. So this is coming up from multiple different people this morning. Fabrizio reported this story. A couple of other people did as well. And the general consensus coming out of the club at the moment is that the 3 players that they're trying to sell in this window is Casemiro, Antony, and Marcus Rashford. They're also trying to get rid of Eriksen and Lindelof, but that's obviously going to be a little bit more difficult. Both of those players out of contract in June, so they can just kind of sit there, carry on cashing in their 150 grand a week paychecks, and then they can leave for free in the summer. So they're probably not going to go anywhere. But the 3 players that do look, I'm not sure if I'd say likely, but the highest probability of going is, as I said, Casemiro, with lots and lots of Saudi clubs supposedly circling for his signature. Antony, we've heard that apparently Real Betis are trying to sign him on loan. I don't really understand that, to be honest, because if we loan out Antony, we're going to have to still get a replacement, aren't we? Even just for squad number purposes, even if Antony's not going to play, that's still another player that's not going to be on our bench. And to be fair, Antony does get minutes here and there. So if you get rid of Antony on loan, we're going to have to be able to replace him with somebody. And it's, where do we get the money for that? That's the big question, because obviously at the moment, if you look at our wingers or our attacking midfielders, Mason Mount's injured. Xerxes doesn't really seem to be getting much of an opportunity, and when he does, he doesn't really offer that much. Eriksen, I think Eriksen's injured. I don't know. Eriksen just doesn't play. His legs are gone. Oh no, he is available, isn't he, Eriksen? He played against Wolves. No, who did Eriksen play? He played against Newcastle, didn't he, Eriksen? And he was awful. But the point I'm making is we don't really have many attacking players anymore, especially with all of our injuries. But yeah, you look at someone like Antony. Yes, he needs to leave the club, but he does offer something here and there in some games. And I think he's played a lot of our Europa League games. Yeah, he's played 4 times in the Europa League this season. And I would say that, if you're playing Rangers at home, you should be able to, give Antony some minutes. Maybe not start, but give him some minutes, definitely. But yeah, in relation to the outgoings then, so Antony to Real Betis, that's one that definitely we should be keeping an eye on. Casemiro to Saudi, that's definitely one to keep an eye on as well. I don't think an offer's been submitted yet, but apparently the Saudi clubs are currently, discussing about bringing Casemiro to there. And then the final one was obviously Marcus Rashford. They need to do something with Marcus Rashford desperately. They really, really do, because he still wasn't being picked. Fine, I understand why. Yeah, I mean, how do we sort this mess out? There's a story coming out this morning as well. Now, this has caught me by surprise, to be completely honest with you, that apparently Leicester City are trying to sign Casemiro. That would be mad. The story says this. It says that Casemiro wants to play football in the Premier League still. The Brazilian midfielder showed his best level under the orders of Ruud van Nistelrooy, and possibly the Dutch manager is now seeking to sign him to improve his team with experienced players. I don't know. I don't know what to suggest. I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, it seems unlikely to me that he'd go to Leicester. Very unlikely. The more obvious option is he goes to like Al Nassr, where Ronaldo's playing, or he goes to Al Hilal or one of those Saudi teams, because they'd be able to afford a transfer fee and they'd be able to afford his wages. Whereas Leicester City, like, how would Leicester afford his 350k a week wages? Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, because you look at Leicester's wage bill, right? I've got it open here. Leicester's highest paid player is Jamie Vardy on 140,000 a week, right? Casemiro earns 350,000 a week, so it's nearly 3 times the amount of their highest earning player. I mean, it's not going to happen, to be honest. Like, the only place that Casemiro could go would be Saudi. They're the only people who would give him 350k a week. So yeah, obviously those are the kind of 3 deals that we need to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the window. Right, let's have a little look in the chat, see what's going on this morning. Let's have a look. Somebody says, who do you think our first signing in January will be? The thing is, right, with this January window, it all depends on who leaves. It's as simple as that. And I think the question should actually be, who do you think we will sell first in January? So I think we'll rephrase that question, because asking who will sign first, it's impossible to predict, because we might not be able to sell anybody. But in relation to who do I think will sell first, I think Antony will probably be the first player to leave, because his loan deal to Real Betis seems to be quite advanced at this stage. I think after that, I think it's then 50-50 whether Casemiro and Rashford leave. I have this horrible feeling that Marcus Rashford will still be here in come February the 1st. I just have a feeling. He's not being selected. He's supposedly not training well. His media team are putting out stories saying that he trained really well this week, and then Ruben Amorim says that he's been ill all week and he hasn't trained. I mean, it's a complete mess, isn't it? There's a proper media battle going on between Rashford and Manchester United. They're battling it out for, who can look good out of this situation. Rashford's team are trying to say that he's training well, he's working hard, and then you have the manager of the club coming out saying that he's not trained all week because he's been unwell. I mean, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. But I don't know. I just have this horrible feeling that, February the 1st, we'll all be sat here and we'll still be talking about Rashford. That's the last thing we need. We need him to leave, wish him all the best, and just be able to actually focus on football, because otherwise we're just going to be talking about Rashford all season. Oh, he's not been picked again. Why has he not been picked? And then what happens when he does start getting picked again? People will be like, Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no winning here. The only win is if he leaves the club, realistically. There's no other middle ground. So, yeah, hopefully the first sale will be Antony, Casemiro and Rashford. I think those three players would be positive. I can't really see Lindelof going. I can't see Eriksen going. I can't see like Maguire going. None of those types of players are going to leave. They're all on big money with not very much time left on their contracts. And I think it's extremely unlikely that we'll be able to get rid of them. But let me know what you think. Who do you think the first player to leave will be? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a little favour and smash a like, that'd be appreciated. We are trying to hit 500 likes on this episode. So please go and do that if you haven't already, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. I've just dropped a link into the chat to subscribe. It's completely free. I'm live every single day, so make sure you subscribe as well. Right, let's move on to Victor Osimhen then, shall we? Because the story around Osimhen is one that obviously I've been following very closely. He's a player I like. He's somebody who I think would definitely improve Manchester United's attacking line. He has that... Well, he is a number 9, isn't he? He's a proper number 9. He gets goals, he gets assists, and he's a player who's in his prime. Now, the story around Osimhen this morning is not a particularly positive one, because there has been an official update come out from his current club, Galatasaray. Now, first of all, I'll give you a bit of a backstory on what's going on with Victor Osimhen before now. So apparently Napoli want to sign Marcus Rashford. Apparently Antonio Conte is a massive fan of Marcus Rashford, obviously having been a manager in the Premier League for Chelsea and for Tottenham, etc. And there was this rumour that went round that apparently Manchester United were going to look to sell Rashford to Napoli, and Manchester United would buy Osimhen off Napoli. Now, we've had a bit of an update coming out from Galatasaray. So this is coming out via Florian Plettenberg, who is the reporter for Sky Sports News. He is reporting that Galatasaray are insisting that they are 100% convinced that Victor Osimhen will not leave the club this winter. It goes on to say that at the moment there are also no negotiations taking place with other teams, i.e. Manchester United. He says 13 goals and 5 assists this season so far. He's been an incredible signing. So this is obviously a story that Sky Sports have been given directly by Galatasaray, effectively saying that, the club are 100% convinced that Osimhen will not be leaving Galatasaray this winter. Now, that's all good and well, because of course they're going to say that, but they don't actually have the power in this situation, remember, because he's not their player. He is Napoli's player. And Napoli effectively have the final say on whether they want to sell, whether they want to loan him, whether they want to keep him. Like, it's not up to Galatasaray. But being honest, I think, the likelihood of Manchester United being able to pull off a deal like this would be pretty difficult in the January window, because of obviously the finances involved in it, because of how close we are to the financial fair play cut-off point, of what you can and can't do. But as I said, and what I've said many, many times before, if the domino falls at Manchester United, and that domino being Antony leaving, Casemiro leaving, Marcus Rashford leaving, if you look at those 3 players alone, right, let's do this really, really simply. Because people always say, where are we going to get the money from? What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. But the simplicity of this situation is easy, right? Casemiro, 350 grand a week. Rashford, 300 grand a week. Antony, 200 grand a week. So if Manchester United were able to get those 3 players off the books, those are the 3 players who have been told they don't have a future at Manchester United. Those are the 3 players that Ruben Amorim wants rid of. So those 3 players alone, okay? If we were to get rid of those 3 players in this window, Manchester United would save £44.2 million a year in wages. I mean, that's just astronomical, isn't it? 44 million a year in wages on those 3 players. I mean, that... If you want to have any argument about how this club has been run into the ground, you just pretty much say that, and there's no argument left. The fact that we're paying Antony, who doesn't play, Casemiro, who doesn't play and should be playing in the Saudi League or retired, and Rashford, who doesn't even want to bother training, let alone playing. We're paying those 3 players over £44 million a year in wages combined. I mean, that's just crazy. So if those 3 players were to leave, say you get 20 million for Rashford, say you get, 15 million for Antony maybe, and say 15 million for Casemiro. That's £50 million worth of transfer fees, plus you're saving 44 million in wages. So that's where the money would come from. And I think those three players would have to leave in order for Manchester United to be able to pull off a deal like a Victor Osimhen or someone of that calibre, because otherwise, where's the money going to come from? Yes, there's this whole argument that, you know, if Sheikh Jassim had bought the club, cleared the debt, we would have more money to spend. But, you know, we don't have that. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Al says, what do you think the asking price for Matheus Cunha will be? I think it will be a lot, to be honest. I like Cunha. I really do like Cunha. But the problem we have with Cunha is he has just signed a new contract with Wolves. Apparently there is going to be a release clause in that contract, though, but only valid from the summer. And the thing that a lot of people seem to forget about Matheus Cunha is Wolves invested heavily in this player. You know, he wasn't like someone they found in a lower league and they bought and developed. He's like their star signing. He came from Atletico Madrid, and you know, he was somebody that was widely sought after by lots and lots of clubs. And Wolves made this statement signing. They invested 50 million euros in Matheus Cunha, so they're going to want more than that. I would say 60, 70 million euros would probably be the asking price for Matheus Cunha, which obviously Man United don't have at the moment. So yeah, I think Matheus Cunha would be a lovely player for Manchester United, but I think the likelihood of him coming is quite slim. Natty says, what do you think if these players perform better week in, week out? Would you keep them? The problem I have, Natty, is that they're not going to, and I know that sounds a little bit pessimistic, but as I said at the beginning of the show, these players will beat Man City at the Etihad and then go and lose 3-0 to Bournemouth in the next game. And it's been like that for the last decade. The problem this club have had is consistency. It's the mentality. It's the winner's mentality where they will go out and try and beat every team. I don't know whether it's that they think they're better than other teams and then they just get surprised. I don't know. I don't know what it is. And it would be really interesting to find out, it'd be really interesting to find out why we're in the position we are mentally. Ricardo says, I saw a story a week ago stating that Rashford is convinced that he will sacrifice 50% of his wages in order to secure a move to a top team in Spain, Germany or Italy. I can't see that happening, to be honest. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but do you really think Marcus Rashford's going to give away 50% of his money? It's so unlikely. If anything, right, what he'll do, Ricardo, is maybe you're right. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Napoli say we'll give you 150k a week. Come and join us. He'll probably then ask Manchester United for the difference. That's what all the players have done to us in the past. So say he's on 300k a week here and Napoli offer him 150. He'll say to Manchester United, I want to go to Napoli. They're offering me less money. The difference in what you're paying me and they're paying me is 150k a week. He'll say, I've got 4 years left on my deal. I want you to pay me off 150 grand a week. Does that make sense? So let's do the maths really quickly, just as an example. I mean, is that right? This can't be right. That can't be right. Oh, yeah, it is right. Yeah. So the maths is simple, okay? So you do 150 grand a week times 52, 7.8 million, and you say that he's got 4 years left on his deal. Yeah. So he's on 300k a week at Manchester United, right? Napoli aren't going to pay him more than 150k a week, probably. So say he agrees to go to Napoli, Manchester United get a transfer fee, right? But Rashford will turn around to Manchester United and say, I've got 4 years left on my deal with you and you're paying me 300,000 a week. You want rid of me. I'm clearly not part of the team. I'm happy to leave, but I want you to pay me off the difference in the wages Napoli are willing to offer me versus what you're paying me. And obviously, because there's a contract in place between Manchester United and Rashford, Man United will be in a position where either they give him the money or he could turn around and say, I'm not leaving. And in this example, right, where I said Napoli or in a similar team would probably give him about 150k a week, that would be £30 million difference in wages versus what Man United are paying him over the next 4 years versus what a team like Napoli could afford. So that's the biggest problem that Man United have, is that there probably would be a lot of teams interested in Rashford if he was on a reasonable amount of money, but no team's going to give him 300 grand a week apart from Saudi or maybe MLS. Nobody will. So Man United will then effectively have to agree like a compensation package with him so he feels like he's been sorted out, which is so frustrating, but that's just how it works. Somebody says, what about a swap deal? I don't know. the swap deal works the same. Even if we do a swap deal with Osimhen, they're still going to have to top up Rashford's wages. So it's not really a swap deal, is it? Because Osimhen and Rashford aren't paid the same amount of money. Swap deals can only really happen when, you've got two players on the same type of money. And obviously Rashford and Osimhen aren't on the same money. So Rashford's on £300,000 a week, whereas Osimhen so he's at Galatasaray, but obviously he plays. So I've got his wages up here. So yeah, Osimhen, who is obviously one of Napoli's better players, is paid £150,000 a week. Rashford's paid double the amount of money as Osimhen. So if you swap the two players, as I said, the difference in wages would be about £7 million a season. So it's not really a swap, is it? Because Napoli are having to pay more in wages. And I'm having a look at Napoli's wage bill here, right? Napoli's current highest earning player is Osimhen, but obviously he's on loan at Galatasaray, right? Their second highest is Lukaku, who's on 120 grand a week. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, they're not going to offer him 300k a week. They'd probably give him 150k a week, and that would be the absolute limit. So this is why we have this problem. If he was on 100k a week, we could sell him easily. People would be probably lining up to buy him. He'd probably be getting an increase on his wage. But because we gave him that 300 grand a week contract, we've effectively enabled him to stay at the club, collect his money, not train properly, go out drinking supposedly 48 hours before games, go to Belfast the day before a game and then not turn up for training. Like, we've enabled that. We've put this guy on a platform where, yes, he put in some good performances 1, 2, 3 seasons ago, but now we're in this position where we have somebody who's causing trouble and we can't get rid of them. And that's something we obviously need to learn from. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll probably be back later on today if there's any breaking news. Make sure to drop a like on the channel. Make sure to subscribe as well. Thank you very much. Have a lovely Monday, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.